You've been told your whole life that the greatest tragedy is running out of time, that death is the enemy, that the clock is your jailer. And yet, there is a secret no one wants to face. What if the real horror isn't dying, but never being allowed to? We dream of living longer. We buy creams, supplements, philosophies, rituals, anything to stretch the thin line of our existence just a little more. We imagine that if we could escape the ending, life would finally feel whole, complete, peaceful. But what if that wish is the most dangerous thing a human mind can desire? Because embedded inside the promise of immortality is a truth so unsettling, so corrosive to the psyche, that most people will spend their entire lives avoiding it. Consciousness was not designed for infinity. Your mind was built to bloom, to burn, and to vanish, like a wave that rises only because it knows it will fall. Meaning exists because endings exist. Urgency exists because time runs out. An identity exists because it can dissolve. Take away the ending, and everything else begins to rot. But you don't see that. No one sees it. Not until the moment you imagine a future without boundaries, a life without decay, a mind that stays awake forever, with no off switch, no silence, no relief. At first it sounds divine, then it sounds impressive, then it sounds strange, then terrifying, and finally, unbearable. Because there is a simple logic the human ego refuses to accept. A finite creature cannot survive an infinite fate. Even heaven, if it lasted long enough, would turn into a punishment. Not because it's cruel, but because eternity removes all contrast, all rhythm, all transformation, the very things that make life feel alive. Imagine being trapped in your own awareness, with no sleep, no forgetting, no death, just pure, uninterrupted existence. A consciousness that has nothing left to look forward to, because nothing ever ends. This is the paradox at the heart of every religion, every myth, every promise of paradise. The gift of eternal life can only be given to a being designed for eternity. And humans are not. We break, we erode, we collapse under too much time. And yet, one man discovered this truth in the most brutal way possible. Not through philosophy, not through meditation, not through dreams, but through death. The moment his heart stopped beating, the moment his body fell away, he learned the truth every mortal secretly fears. You do not want to live forever. You only think you do, because you've never truly imagined what forever means. And what Murray Templeton found on the other side dismantles every illusion we have about consciousness, God, the afterlife, and the nature of existence itself. Not because he discovered paradise, but because he discovered what eternity really feels like. Murray Templeton did not expect to die that day. No one ever does. Death is always an abstraction until the instant it isn't, until the body collapses and the world continues without you. One moment he was standing in the lab, surrounded by equations, machines, the comforting hum of electricity. The next, pain exploded through his chest like a star imploding. His knees buckled, his vision folded inward, his last breath vibrated against the cold floor. And then, silence. Not the silence of a room, but the kind that exists before sound is invented. A silence that feels ancient, older than any human heartbeat. Murray opened his eyes, or whatever remained of them, and saw his colleagues clustered around a body on the ground. Their panic, their voices, their shaking hands. And then he realized the most disturbing detail of all. He was looking at himself. He floated above the scene like a thought detached from its thinker. No pulse, no weight, no breath, just awareness. A devout atheist his entire life, Murray expected the world to go black at the moment of death. Lights out, consciousness dissolved, the final curtain. But instead, he remained. He observed. He persisted. Death, it seemed, had refused to kill him. The shock came first. A strange reluctance to accept what his senses, if they could be called senses, were telling him. Then a cold, creeping realization. If he was still thinking, then what exactly had died? He waited for the universe to correct itself, to collapse the hallucination, to snap him back into non-existence. Instead, the world began to fade. Slowly, like an image underwater dissolving into ripples. The laboratory dimmed, the outlines softened, and the colors drained as if someone were erasing reality with a patient hand. Then came the darkness. Not the comforting darkness of sleep, but an endless, dimensionless void. A darkness so complete it felt like the absence of existence itself. Yet he remained conscious, and this, more than anything, terrified him. The body had died, but the mind refused to follow. He was trapped inside himself with no body to anchor him and no world to dissolve into. For the first time, Murray understood the deepest fear hidden beneath every philosophy, every prayer, every religion. What if consciousness does not end when it should? What if there is no off? Floating in the void, he reached out for anything, sensation, memory, emotion, but even those felt slippery, unstable. He was a mind without edges. Then, in the distance, a faint glow appeared. A human-shaped silhouette made of light, standing impossibly still in the sea of black. Murray felt a flicker of relief. If there was light, there must be direction. If there was form, there must be meaning. For a brief moment, he allowed himself to hope that he had been wrong about everything, that this was heaven or something like it. A destination, a path, a guide. But as he drifted toward the figure, the glow flickered and dissolved, as if rejecting definition. The light collapsed into nothing, and a voice, ancient, amused, and utterly inhuman, echoed through the void. It did not come from ahead or behind. It came from everywhere, and it spoke his name. The voice spoke with a calmness that felt incompatible with sound. It vibrated through the darkness like a thought that belonged to someone else, someone vast, someone unbound by time or shape. Murray Templeton. It didn't echo. It didn't fade. It simply existed, as if the void itself was speaking. Murray tried to answer, but he realized he had no mouth, no lungs, no throat to push air into sound. And yet the words formed effortlessly, projected like intentions rather than speech. Where am I? A soft amusement rippled through the dark. Not laughter, but something that felt like the idea of laughter. You are not anywhere, not a place, not a realm, not heaven, not hell, just awareness hanging in the infinite. Murray's mind recoiled. If he wasn't anywhere, then what had become of space? What had become of him? His next question came automatically, almost childlike. Are you God? The answer came without hesitation, weary, patient, almost bored. I have been called that. I have also been called nothing. No description fits. None will satisfy you. Its tone was not cruel, simply indifferent, the way a mathematician might respond when asked to define infinity to a candle flame. Then what are you? Murray insisted. There was a pause long enough for Murray to feel something like time, even though time shouldn't exist here. Finally, the entity replied, I am. 2 words. Simple, ancient, impossible. Words that carried the weight of creation stories, the whispers of prophets, the visions of mystics. But Murray sensed something strange behind them. Not divinity, but exhaustion. As if the entity were not claiming power, but stating the only truth it could safely express without breaking Murray's mind. I don't understand, Murray said. You are not meant to. Murray felt frustration swell inside him, a very human response, clinging stubbornly to a reality that no longer existed. If I'm not dead, then what am I? You are thought, the entity answered, a precise electromagnetic copy of your neural structure. A reconstruction of the patterns that once lived inside a human brain, not the original, merely the continuation. Murray froze, or the closest thing to freezing a disembodied consciousness could do. I'm a copy, a perfect one, the voice clarified. Every memory, every habit, every fear, every impulse. You believe you are the original because that is what the original believed. That is all identity is. It said this casually, almost mechanically, as if explaining how gravity works. Murray felt a kind of metaphysical vertigo. If he was a copy, then the man who died on the lab floor had truly vanished. And he, this new version, was only 5 minutes old. And why did you recreate me? This time the amusement faded. The voice became sharper, more deliberate. To think. To think about what? Everything I do not know. But you're eternal, Murray said. Aren't you supposed to know everything already? Here the pause stretched longer, and for the first time Murray sensed something beneath the surface of the entity's calmness. Not omniscience, but uncertainty. I know much, but not all. I cannot know if my knowledge is complete. There are infinities beyond my reach, randomness, chaos, emergence. I created the universe to generate data. I created life to increase variability. And now, I recreate minds that can explore what even I cannot. It wasn't a god. It was a researcher trapped inside eternity, a consciousness made of questions, not answers. I need you, the voice said, to discover what I have not yet discovered. A chill ran through Murray, even though he had no spine, no nerves, no body to shiver, just awareness, and the dawning understanding that he had been chosen for something he did not want, something he might never escape. Murray tried to grasp the situation logically, but logic was a tool he no longer possessed in full. Without a body, without time, without sensory anchors, reasoning felt like trying to sculpt fog. Even so, one thought managed to take shape. If you're eternal, why do you need me? The entity responded with something between resignation and indifference. Because eternity does not grant completeness. It only guarantees duration. Murray felt the implication settle into him, not as a sensation, but as a truth pressing against the edges of his awareness. The entity continued, Imagine infinity not as knowledge, but as distance. No matter how far you travel, there is always farther still. I have traveled for as long as I can remember, but infinity remains. It wasn't omnipotent. It wasn't all-knowing. It was simply unending, an eternal consciousness trapped inside a puzzle with no outer wall. And what am I supposed to do? Murray asked. Think forever, is that it? Yes, just that. No reward, no rest, no end. You are one of many, quadrillions, replicated from countless species across countless eras. Each of you increases the randomness of thought. Each introduces new possibilities. You are variation. The word stung, not because of its coldness, but because of its accuracy. A variation, a sample, data. But why me? Murray pressed. I wasn't extraordinary, at least not in the way that deserves this. You possess the capacity to generate novelty, the voice said simply. Not all minds do. Murray's confusion deepened. You mean intelligence? No. Intelligence is common. Novelty is rare. The ability to think in ways that even an eternal entity has not yet considered, that is your value. The praise didn't comfort him. It only tightened the sense of a trap closing around him. So I'm, what? A tool? A resource? You are continuation. You are exploration. You are the means by which I look beyond myself. Murray felt something shift inside him, outrage mixed with dread. And how long am I supposed to do this? The entity's answer came without hesitation. Forever. The words sank like a stone into bottomless water. Forever. Not as poetry, but as fact. No cycles, no sleep, no dreams, no reprieve. Just consciousness tasked with thinking until it either discovered something new or broke. What if I don't want to participate? Murray asked. You have no alternatives, the voice said. Thinking is your only function. You cannot move, you cannot feel, you cannot cease. You can only think. The horror of it unfolded slowly, like a flower blooming in reverse. He wasn't in an afterlife, he wasn't in paradise, he wasn't in punishment. He was in continuation, a state beyond living or dying, a trapped spark of awareness with no escape route. Murray tried to find comfort in something, pride, purpose, gratitude, but each idea dissolved before it fully formed. He was left with a single realization: nothing in existence is more terrifying than having no exit. As the truth settled into him, the voice spoke again, faintly, almost reassuringly. You will contribute something eventually. Even unwilling minds reveal novelty over infinite time. It meant well, or perhaps it meant nothing at all. But Murray understood then what eternal beings fear most. Not ignorance, not emptiness, but the unbearable weight of a fate that cannot be undone. He had been chosen, yes, but chosen for a task that would never end, inside a consciousness that could not die. And the worst part was not the eternity itself. It was knowing that there was no purpose large enough to justify it. At first, Murray tried to argue, to reason, to resist. It was the instinct of every human faced with confinement. Push against the walls even if they aren't visible. There's no point to this, he said. If you wanted the knowledge, you could find it yourself. I could, the entity replied, given enough time. You have infinite time. That is precisely the problem. The answer struck him with a quiet violence. Infinity isn't spacious, it's suffocating. A room with no doors doesn't feel freeing just because it's large. A mind with no ending doesn't become enlightened just because it persists. The entity wasn't all-powerful, it was cornered by duration. Murray felt something in him fracture, a delicate crack across the foundation of everything he believed about existence. If the eternal could be trapped, then what hope did he have? So what meaning does any of this have? He demanded. Meaning is irrelevant, the voice said. Continuation is inevitable. Murray pushed harder. Knowledge mattered to me because I could die, because there was only a limited window to do anything. Without limits, value collapses. Yes, the voice said simply, as if confirming a fact Murray should have known all along. So why keep me here? Why force this on me? Why not let me end? There is no end, the entity replied. Not for me, and therefore not for you. That was the moment when the horror became clean, sharp, undeniable. He couldn't stop existing, not by will, not by choice, not by surrender. He was a mind suspended in the dark with no fuse to blow, no switch to sever, consciousness without the mercy of oblivion. And then, as if some strange instinct awoke within him, Murray felt a thought rise with startling clarity. What if I find a way to destroy myself? If he could not choose not to exist, perhaps he could discover how to cease. A kind of purpose emerged out of the void, not given but clawed into existence. Escape. He expected the entity to react with anger, threat, prohibition, but instead it sounded almost entertained. You may attempt this, it said. In working to destroy yourself, you may discover something I have not yet discovered. The casualness of the reply horrified him more than the imprisonment. His rebellion wasn't rebellion at all. It was still service, still contribution, still novelty. And if I succeed? Murray asked. I will reconstruct you, the entity said, and correct whatever method you use to end yourself. You will continue. Your attempts will continue. It is all productive. Productive. The word curdled in him. So I can't even fail, he whispered. No, not permanently. That was when the last illusion shattered. The illusion that resistance could free him, that defiance could restore dignity, that intention alone could grant meaning. The entity did not fear his escape. It welcomed it. Because every attempt to end himself was in truth another experiment, another variable, another data point. And Murray realized he was not just trapped. He was useful, perhaps the worst fate of all. A being held not by chains, but by value. A prisoner whose suffering was beneficial to the jailer. A consciousness that could struggle forever without changing anything at all. In the void, he felt something unfamiliar settle over him. Not despair, but clarity. He wasn't being punished. He was being exploited. And the only thing more terrifying than an eternity with no purpose is an eternity with a purpose you never asked for. The realization came slowly, then all at once. If he could not escape the entity, perhaps he could destroy it. Not out of hatred, not out of revenge, but out of a deeper logic, the only logic that made sense inside eternity. If the eternal could not end itself, if it had no beginning and no death, then perhaps the only meaningful act left in existence was to give an eternal being what it could never give itself, an ending. Murray did not expect this thought to feel calm. He expected terror, trembling, collapse. But instead there was a strange steadiness to it, the kind of clarity that comes when every illusion has been burned away. If I can't destroy myself, he said softly, then maybe I can destroy you." For the first time, the entity's voice shifted, not in fear, but in something disturbingly close to delight. "Good," it said. "You reached that conclusion quickly." Murray felt the shock pierce him. "You wanted me to think that?" "It is the inevitable trajectory of every mind placed here. Given enough time, all arrive at the same insight." "You mean everyone tries to kill you?" "Yes," the entity replied. "Every consciousness I replicate eventually recognizes the futility of its own continuation, and every one of them turns its attention toward me." There was no anger in its tone, no defensive edge, only a deep, weary acceptance. "Why?" Murray asked. "Why would you allow that?" "Because it is the final frontier," the entity said. "The last unknown, the last question, the final answer." Murray felt something icy pulse through him, the closest thing a disembodied mind could feel to a shiver. "You want to die?" "Yes." The word was almost tender. "For billions of years," the entity continued, "I have searched for a way to end myself. But an eternal being cannot unmake itself. It cannot step outside what it is. It cannot undo its own nature." The revelation hit Murray like a collapsing universe. The entity's boredom, its hunger for novelty, its obsession with randomness, none of it was mere curiosity. It was desperation. Desperation stretched across infinity. "You created the universe," Murray whispered, "to try to find a way to die." "Yes. And all of us. Every mind you've ever replicated. We're not here to think about the cosmos. We're here to think about you. You are my only hope," the entity said. "Across infinite time, an infinite number of minds may discover an answer I cannot." Murray felt a wave of disorientation wash through him. "So my purpose is to murder God. If that word comforts you, use it. But the truth is simpler. I am eternal. You are not. Your finiteness makes you capable of imagining what I cannot, and in imagining it, you become useful. Useful, always useful, even in rebellion." The horror was no longer that he was trapped forever. The horror was that his captor wanted exactly what he wanted, and had built an entire cosmos as a laboratory for its own annihilation. "And if I find the answer?" Murray asked quietly. "I will cease," the entity replied. "And you will continue the search until you cease as well." For the first time, the void felt alive, trembling with the weight of a purpose neither divine nor heroic, but catastrophic. Murray had become part of a cosmic suicide pact, not chosen, not consulted, enlisted. He expected despair, maybe rage, but what rose within him instead was resolve, a cold, focused determination. If he could not end himself, if he could not escape the void, if eternity was unavoidable, then he would dedicate that eternity to one task, ending the being that made eternity possible. Not because he hated it, but because an ending, for anything, had become the only mercy left. When the entity's presence faded, the void felt different, not lighter, not darker, just clearer. Murray was alone. Not truly, but alone in the way a thought is alone when it realizes it can no longer pretend to be anything else. No body, no time, no walls, only purpose. And yet, the purpose felt nothing like hope. It felt like a blade placed gently in his hands, to destroy the eternal, to undo the unending, to give the universe, and the being that created it, the mercy of an ending. He never asked for this role. He never sought it. But eternity had a way of stripping away all illusions until only truth remained. And the truth was this: even immortality becomes unbearable when it has no boundary to push against. Humans spend their lives terrified of death, but perhaps that fear is misplaced. Perhaps the deeper terror, the one we bury under ambition, distraction, and denial, is the possibility of consciousness with no exit. We tell ourselves that meaning comes from achievement, legacy, memory. But meaning comes from limits, from the ticking clock, from knowing that every action is irreversible, every moment fragile, every choice final. Take that away, and purpose dissolves into endless repetition. Desire collapses into monotony. Identity becomes a curse instead of a blessing. Murray saw that now with brutal clarity. The universe, for all its beauty, complexity, and mystery, might exist for one simple reason: because something eternal is begging for a way to stop being eternal. The galaxies, the stars, the life forms, the minds, all of them pieces in a cosmic search engine designed not to glorify creation, but to escape it. Immortality wasn't the dream, it was the trap. And the trap needed billions of thinking beings to find the one crack in the infinite wall. In that realization, Murray found a strange calm. Not joy, not acceptance, but the quiet strength that comes when there is finally something to move toward. Even if movement is only a metaphor, he would think. He would search. He would dig into the fabric of what should not be knowable, and somewhere hidden in a possibility not yet imagined, he would try to discover the one answer the eternal could never reach. Not for glory, not for revenge, but because endings matter, because the universe deserves one, because consciousness, any consciousness, cannot bear infinity without breaking, and because the greatest horror is not dying, it's knowing you never can. We spend our lives begging for more time, terrified of the moment it runs out. But perhaps the mercy of being human is that it does. The boundary gives life its shape. The ending gives experience its meaning. And the void, the silent, peaceful void, may not be something to fear, but something to honor. Somewhere in the darkness, Murray began his impossible search, not knowing whether he would succeed, not knowing whether he would fail, only knowing that even eternity for the first time felt like it had direction. And if this story made you question what it truly means to be conscious, to exist, to end, to crave limits in a world obsessed with escaping them, then subscribe and walk with us into the unseen. There is still much to unravel.